I don't know about you, but our work days are feeling longer and longer each week. And believe it or not, Americans are working longer days because now that we can work remotely, we seem to be more available than normal. As HR leaders, we play a critical role in supporting the lives of our teams, our leaders, our employees. But are we setting proper boundaries when it comes to maintaining proper self care? That's what we're going to talk about today. In today's episode, we have Jennifer Patenaude, founder of Jennifer Eve Wellness. As a sleep and wellness coach with a passion for guiding busy executives and entrepreneurs to their best selves, she specializes in transforming sleep from a mere afterthought to the cornerstone of peak performance and wellness. In our conversation, we're going to talk about ways to 10x your focus and productivity through sleep and ways to think about sleep differently to improve our overall lives. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure you subscribe and tune in to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me, Brittany.
Thank you. So to level set, can you tell us more about, sleep wellness and how this become a passion of yours?
Sure. So I think that sleep is the ultimate form of self-care. I believe that we have control over our health. I believe that small changes create huge impact. And I believe that optimal health starts with sleep. So when I was becoming a health coach, studying to become a health coach and figuring out who I wanted to help and who did I want to work with. And I thought about maybe folks with autoimmunity or work on gut health or brain health. And the common denominator that I found across those various markets or niches was the importance of sleep. So I realized that it didn't matter who I decided to work with, we were going to have to address sleep anyway. And it's something that I think most folks can relate to. I think we all know the feeling after a terrible night's sleep. And so that's how I decided to focus on sleep. And also because, as I mentioned, I believe that optimal health starts with sleep. It's so foundational to our health. So it doesn't matter how you're eating, exercising, any healthy habits that you're implementing, if you're not getting sleep, those don't matter.
I think we can all relate to the feeling of burning the candle at both ends. And I think as we rise through the ranks in our roles, whether we're entrepreneurs, whether we're business leaders, even while we're employees, if we're honest, it's easy to continue to, run the rat race, continue to do the same
Mhm.
things over and over and over again, and not take inventory of our own time, of our own lives, and what we're doing to make sure we're getting the proper amount of sleep. So, in your experience, what do you see when it comes to the ways that it impacts us in the workplace? How do you see it manifested?
So many ways. Like you mentioned, the rat race, we belong to this hustle culture, right? This go, go,
Hmm.
go. Only so many hours in the day. I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Right.
And I really want folks to, I want to flip the narrative and I want people to start thinking about sleep as an investment. And so it's not just an investment in our health, it's a huge investment in our health, but as you mentioned, in our work, in our professions, in our jobs. And by the way, it's a free investment. And you can also think of it as the only free health insurance policy out there.
Ooh, I like that.
Because really, it's more than just about how we're feeling on a daily basis. So when we aren't getting enough sleep, we might feel that experience the brain fog or the exhaustion kind of slogging through the day. But in actuality, sleep is impacting our long-term health. And by not getting, and we should be shooting for 7 to 9 hours a night, um, it could really cause some issues down the road. So I try to get people to focus on that aspect of our health. But then, as you mentioned, just for our day to day and for our working, there are so many ways in which it really can impact our professional lives. And I can get into that in a minute, but just to kind of emphasize the health piece, I can give three examples that I think most people can at least relate to one of these three. So the first one is, if your health goal is not to lose weight, guarantee you know 10 or more people who have that as a health goal. If
Right.
you're not getting proper sleep, your body will not release fat. But it's compounded because it also screws up your hormones that help to regulate eating. So ghrelin, which is the hormone that makes you hungry, that skyrockets. So you feel more hungry more often. And leptin, the hormone that gives us that full feeling, that takes a dive. And so we don't get that feeling. So you end up eating more calories throughout the day. And oftentimes those are sugary, starchy calories. So if your body's not releasing fat and you're consuming a bunch more calories, that is not a winning combination. So the second example, and this one is personal for me, and I'm sure there are people in your audience whose families have been affected by Alzheimer's or dementia. The lymphatic system in the body, the primary role of it is to flush out toxins that build up in the body. There's the glymphatic system in the brain. Similarly, flushes out the toxins that build up in the brain during the day. Here's the thing, it only works during sleep.
Hmm.
And one of those toxins that can build up is called beta amyloid, which is associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. So if you're not sleeping, the lymphatic system isn't able to flush those toxins out. And then finally, um, this one, I kind of joke about this one, but in all seriousness, so men who average fewer than 7 hours of sleep a night have significantly smaller testicles than men who sleep longer than 7 hours of sleep a night.
Okay.
Why this is so important, besides the obvious, is that testosterone is a key hormone for things like focus and motivation during the day, but also for reproductive health. And women, we take a similar hit on our reproductive health by lack of sleep. So those are just three examples. I could go on and give you other ways in which lack of sleep impact our health. I try to toe the line between creating awareness and creating overwhelm. Last thing I want is for folks who are struggling with sleep to be lying in bed going, oh, great, that lady told me I'm going to get Alzheimer's now, because stress is the worst toxin that we can put in our body. But I do just want people to be aware that there is a big impact on our health.
You answered the question I was going to ask in terms of what's an ideal number of hours that we all need, regardless of age or weight or all the things. And you said 7 to 9 hours, and as you said 7 to 9 hours, I was thinking about all of the reasons that people might say that they can't get 7 to 9 hours, and all the reasons why I would say to myself, well, I can't get 9 hours of sleep because I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But you gave some really compelling reasons as to why
Mhm.
we should prioritize it, because, like you say, it is an investment in our health. And I love the way to think about that. It's not
Mhm.
something that is keeping us from the things we want to do or the things we feel we need to do. It's really allowing us to do more of the things we love. Is that a fair way of thinking about it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it gives us, and by giving us that focus and productivity during the day, it lets us focus when we need to on our work, our job, so we can do that efficiently, so that we then have the time outside of our work lives to focus on the people and the things that matter most to us, right?
Mm-hmm. So for those of us who are leading teams, or even for our HR leaders who may be informal leaders where they don't necessarily have people that report to them, but they support the workplace and support the people within that workplace, how does sleep or lack of sleep affect things like employee attendance and things like that?
Mhm. So the obvious answer is going back to the impact on our health. So somebody who's not getting the right sleep will experience more health issues, and so that can increase their absenteeism from work. And it also can impacts our mental health. So that, in addition, can impact somebody's attendance with work. Um, it's there we go through these various cycle stages rather while we're sleeping. And so there's the REM stage of sleep, which we most of us know as the dream state. And then there are four stages of non-REM. And they're very creatively named non-REM one, two, three, four. And stages 3 and 4, that's our deep wave sleep. And so each stage in the sleep cycle plays an important role and has different benefits. So when you asked before of how it can impact, say, people's contributions at work or teams and such, I can give you a few examples for that. So the REM stage of sleep, so that dream stage sleep, that is also the stage that gives us our creativity and our problem solving ability. And that tends to happen, the bulk of our REM sleep tends to happen in the second half of the evening or of our entire sleep cycle. And oftentimes, right before we're waking up in the morning. So that's why some folks can really remember their dreams, is because they're just coming out of their longest REM sleep stage. If you're not getting that 7 to 9 hours of sleep, so if you're only sleeping 6 hours, even less than that, you're really shortchanging yourself on that key REM sleep. And so you're lacking that boost to your creativity and your problem solving capabilities. So
Okay.
that's one way in which it can impact our teams, our employees.
Okay. So on the flip side of it, we talked about what lack of sleep can do for us. On the positive side, you talked about it helps us with our creativity and even finding ways to be more focused. How do you
Mhm.
find that that relates to the way we collaborate in the workplace or the way we build community within the workplace
Right.
now that we are more alert? How does that work?
Yes. So another key piece of the puzzle is without that full spectrum of all of those sleep stages, it really can impact our complex emotional processing and also our ability to, for instance, recognize social emotional cues. So even reading somebody's facial expression, those are keys in building relationships, building community, working as a team, working together, right? So it's critical to be able to have those tools in your toolbox. And if you're not sleeping enough and you're not able to do that, and it's probably causing stress in your life anyway, so now you're, say, stressed out, you're not reading the social cues properly, and so you're really handicapping yourself in terms of working with others or within a team or a community.
Hmm. Wow. So now that we know why it's so important to prioritize sleep, not just for ourselves, but also for the people that we work with and those that we lead, what are some ways that we can really promote that? How can we encourage others to prioritize their sleep and also keep ourselves accountable for maintaining our better sleep patterns?
Yes. So, admittedly, your sleep struggles, the cause could be different than mine, could be different than your neighbors, but there are foundational puzzle pieces that we can all put into place and work on to positively shift our sleep. And they fall into three main categories: our sleep environment, so the actual physical space in which we sleep, our sleep routine, what we're doing during the day and right before bed to really prime our bodies for restorative sleep, and our sleep story. So, what's going on up here? What's getting in the way? So, I can give a few examples in each of these. So our environment's probably the easiest to address because much of it is just making changes once and then you're all set. So for instance, ideally, the space that we're sleeping in is pitch black. So most of us know that the melatonin, the hormone of darkness, and any sneaky little light source can disrupt our melatonin production, which is going to impact our ability to stay asleep throughout the night. So even if there is light sneaking in from outside your windows or little gadgets you may have in your room, a cable box, if you have a digital phone next to your bed, either turn that away or ideally it's red or amber light as opposed to blue light. If there are gadgets and things in your room that can't be removed, for instance, during the winter, we'll have a humidifier in our room. And so I just position it in such a way that the light is not impacting me, or you can even just stick a piece of tape over those lights. The caveat to keeping the space pitch black is if you have to get up in the middle of the night for some reason, say to use the restroom, you don't want to be bumping into walls. I want everybody to be.
Right.
So in that instance, it's okay to have, say, a small night light, but again, just make sure it's red or amber tinted. And when you do use the restroom, don't start flipping on all the lights in the hallway and in the bathroom because then that's going to cause you to become alert and more awake. Noise, ideally you either want a quiet space or maybe even some white noise. Another key thing in addition to darkness that helps to trigger or signal to our body that it's time to rest and sleep is temperature. So our core body temperature dips in the evening. And that contributes to our feeling of sleepiness. And that's why it's sometimes helpful before bed to take a hot shower or bath because that helps to lower our core body temperature. So you also want to keep the temperature of your room on the lower side, usually between 64, 68 degrees. You can go a little bit lower than that, personal preference. You don't really want to get it up higher than 68 degrees. And also, you want to make sure that your bedding is comfortable and inviting. If we think about our sleep routine, most folks, if I ask them if they have a bedtime routine or sleep routine, and I ask them what time it starts, I'll get an answer anywhere between 8, 8:30 to 10, 10:30, something like that. But what would you say if I told you that your bedtime routine actually starts first thing when you wake up in the morning?
Oh, wow. I would
Yes.
not think that. I wouldn't think that at all.
So there is a saying I love: how well we rise is how well we rest. So what we do first thing in the morning when we wake up absolutely can impact how we sleep that night. So here is a little tip that can help. Within 10 minutes of waking up, get outside into natural light, ideally
Hmm.
within 60 to 90 minutes of sunrise. And what that does is it signals to our body to start creating cortisol, which gives us that awake and alert feeling. But we want a nice gradual increase of cortisol as our melatonin is decreasing. If you are sticking your phone in your face first thing when you wake up, that's going to spike your cortisol. And you don't want that. Nice gradual rise. So if you were a coffee drinker in the morning, or I'll grab a cup of warm lemon water, take that outside with me. Stay outside 5-10 minutes. If you can do it a little longer, even better. Maybe go for a walk. You also want to have naked eyes. So no glasses, no contacts yet. And peeking out your window doesn't count. You got to get outside. In addition, if you're then able to get back outside around sunset and get some of the natural light at that time of day, that light is more red and amber, and that is a signal to our body that okay, in a few hours we're really going to start our melatonin production. We're going to start winding down. The
Wow.
other tip I like to give folks in terms of routine is what's called sleep regularity, meaning maintaining a consistent bedtime and wake time every day, even on the weekends, as much as possible. You want to shoot for 80% of the time or more. And we mentioned getting that 7 to 9 hours a night, which is called sleep duration, which is very important. Sleep regularity might edge out sleep duration just slightly in terms of its impact on our long term health. So, if you are somebody that does struggle with sleep, if you try those two things, getting the morning light and keeping a consistent bedtime and wake time, within 2 to 3 weeks, you will absolutely feel a difference and positive shift in your sleep.
These are fantastic tips. I cannot wait to try these. I think for me, what I struggle with is the regularity. Because with me, being a business owner, but then also working during the day, my sleep schedule is a little wonky from time to time, especially
Mhm.
over the weekends. So that sleep regularity will be a game changer. And my husband
Mhm.
it will be music to his ears to hear about going outside and getting the sun, and even in the evening, because he does things like that. And I tend to stay inside. So when you said that peeking out the window wouldn't count, that's what made me chuckle because that's what I would try to do in that instance. So thank you for sharing that. So
Yeah.
what have you seen has been successful with incorporating these tips into like a corporate wellness program? Is it really just sending out reminders to keeping it top of mind and for people, or what have you seen to be successful?
Yeah. So I think it's creating the awareness. And I know that some companies, some larger corporations have even set up programs where they've incentivized their employees to sleep and to be getting that amount of sleep. Um, you know, can it can be tough because just in general in the wellness space, it's hard to sell prevention to people,
Hmm.
right? And really, that's what we're talking about. Because if you don't self-identify as somebody who struggles with sleep, but you are getting fewer than 7 hours, you might not buy into the fact that you need more sleep, right? So it can be tricky to get people on board with that. But it's so important. So important. So if you can set up some type of system where folks are incented to at least try it on a short term basis, 3 weeks, a month, 6 weeks, try some sort of program. I don't, you make it fun, gamify it somehow, right? People will feel a difference in their energy level, in their focus, in their productivity. And that's when you're going to get the buy in. So maybe it's
Hmm.
starting with upper management, ELT, and having them give it a try and getting their buy in and then get the trickle down to the rest of the organization.
And I think it's things like that, the where you can get people focused around something that's not necessarily business related or productivity related or end goal related when it comes to ways that the company makes money, but you get people to connect and commune around an idea, whether it's wellness in this way, whether it's sleep, whether it's even if it's talking about their favorite show they watch on the weekends. I think these type of team building activities really help people feel more included and like they belong within their workplaces. So these are
Right,
excellent
absolutely.
tips.
Which we also know, I mean, ultimately does contribute to the bottom line of the business, right?
Right,
Because
right.
you're maintaining employees if people are happier,
Hmm.
if attendance is going up, people are more productive. Yeah, it's all contributing.
Right, right, right. Well, thank you, Jennifer. This has been a fascinating conversation. I'm so thankful for you being able to join us today and talk about all these sleep tips. I know we all need them, and like you said, whether we're sleep aware or not, I think there will be a time in our year at a minimum for us to realize that, hey, this is an issue for us. Whether it's sleep regularity, whether it's getting the proper amount of sunlight and in the
Mhm.
evening light, and all those things. So thank you for sharing that.
You're
If
welcome.
our watchers want to learn more about you and what you do, how can they connect with you?
Yes. So I will leave a link for a gift that I have for folks. And it's kind of a sleep assessment tool that runs you through a series of statements about current sleep habits, stress, exposure to light, like we were talking about. And it helps pinpoint the areas, kind of the low hanging fruit, where people can make changes right away to see the quickest impact on their sleep. So,
Great. Well,
and then through that link, they can get in touch with me if they need more help.
fantastic. Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that, Jennifer. And I think that our HR leaders watching this will really benefit from it, because I think we pour out so much of ourselves. And so it's easy to just end up at the end of the day and at the end of the week running on fumes. So I love
Mhm.
this investment in ourselves to pour into ourselves in this way. So thank you so much for sharing these wonderful insights with us.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Brittany.
That ends our episode of HR Leadership Lessons. Everything we discussed today can be found at talentedteamsconsulting.com. Head to our website to access the show notes, relevant links, and all the resources you need to grow on purpose in HR leadership. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and be sure to never miss future content. Drop us a review and show us some love, and show our guests some love on social media. Thanks again for listening.